2024 is off to an interesting start that I don't think anyone saw coming. Not even the Mayan calendar could have popped this puppy on there. This is a really kind of somber way to begin the year when it comes to online content creation because another massive YouTuber just announced their departure from their current content. There are more YouTubers leaving the platform than there are people leaving an open mic James Corden stand-up routine. For some reason, it seems like a lot of major channels are having this mass exodus here. Well, I'm exaggerating a bit because right now it's just 2 YouTubers in a week, but they are like actual pillars of the YouTube community. Last week it was Tom Scott posting his announcement letting his audience know that the content that he's created for the last 10 years is kaput. He's closing that chapter of his life and moving on and exploring other areas of his life that he's neglected over the last 10 years of going nuts to butts on the grind for content creation and taking an indefinite break. And now another massive YouTuber is also sailing off into the sunset, MatPat.
It's not clickbait. On March 9th, I will be hosting my last Theory episode, at which point I'll be handing off the channels to someone else.
March 9th will be a dark day in YouTube history for sure. It'll probably be a day more sad than June 6, 2006, the date of the Falador massacre in RuneScape. God rest all the poor souls that lost their lives that day. That was a video that hit YouTube, actually how I found the platform, and for some reason that's a date that lives in my head as a sad day in YouTube history, and now March 8th of 2024 will also be there as well. MatPat has built something incredible. MatPat and his team have had an influence on the platform that I don't see ever disappearing. They have truly left their mark on the actual culture of YouTube. Not just through the Game Theorist, it's a lot more than that. They have multiple other channels that they have successfully grown, like Style Theorist and all of that. But more so than just extremely popular channels, they've integrated their brand into content that is completely separate from their own. For example, I myself will often reference his catchphrase, "That's just a theory," or, "Well, that's just my game theory on it." And I'm not alone. In fact, in his video here, he does show a short little montage of other channels making that same reference. He was able, and his team, were able to actually take their content and evolve it in a way that blossomed outside of their own ecosystem. That's not something that you can artificially manufacture and brute force. That's just organic love for your work. I feel as though the majority of the YouTube community has always had an appreciation for the work that goes into the high quality productions that MatPat and his team have produced over the years. So even if you're someone like me who's not the biggest Five Nights at Freddy's enthusiast, I know, get all your booze out of the way, throw your tomatoes, shoot your spitballs, I get it. I'm not the biggest Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I fucking said it. I know, I'm an uncultured troglodyte, is what it is. But even me, being the dumb Cro-Magnon that I am, have a deep appreciation for their content.
A little bit more disorganized than usual. Normally, I would want to script out something like this pretty precisely. But with an announcement like this, I wanted to bring it back to just us. There's no one else in the room. There's no teleprompters. There's no nothing. It's just the way that this whole thing started. It's a conversation between us.
It's a very emotionally charged video, as you would expect it to be. This is his life's work, pretty much, and he's making the extremely difficult decision to step away from it. And his reasons are very similar to the reasons Tom Scott expressed, but I'll let him tell those in just a moment. I want to just mention here that the way he presents this, I also found to just be super genuine and heartfelt. Watching this reminded me of when Steve from Blue's Clues stepped away from being the host. He gave that, farewell speech. It was so heartwarming. It was about him going off to college and passing the torch. And I really got the same vibe from MatPat's video here as the Steve departure. And I just had to point that out. And I'd also like to mention that it is more than Tom Scott and MatPat that are leaving. Seth Everman also announced that he is done with content creation. He did let his audience know that there was a set time. He had a timer counting down. He had the doomsday clock ticking down, and that bitch ran out. And he said, you know what? This wasn't a meme. This wasn't a joke. I really am stepping away. So he did a goodbye stream, and that'll be the last piece of YouTube content that he puts out there. There's just been a sizable chunk of huge channels that I feel a lot of you may have even grown up watching that are all announcing that they're leaving, all in a relatively short period of time. So this has led to a lot of speculation and questions as to, well, what's changed? What's going on? Why is everyone leaving all of a sudden? Is there something conspiratorial going on? Do we need the tinfoil hat out? Like, what the fuck is happening? And I'll get to why I think this is becoming so prevalent in a moment, but first I want to let MatPat explain why he personally is deciding to step away.
We knew that we couldn't do this forever. We knew that, honestly, we didn't want to do this forever. For as much as I love you, and I love overthinking things, and I love theorizing, I don't love late nights. I don't love the fact that Steph and I have been work first for over a decade when I was his age. He also probably knows the FNAF lore better than I do, which is a problem that I should probably address at some point. But honestly, I want to be able to spend more time with him.
Pretty reasonable explanation that every other creator has also shared the sentiment of. Spending over a decade with this breakneck pace to keep creating and keep pushing new content and bigger, better content, it's left him in a state where he's ready to maybe not do that anymore. And he's in a fortunate position where he doesn't have to. He can take a step back and start to get some extra hours of sleep every night. And the other big reason is just wanting to be able to spend more time with his family, in particular his kids. Like, it's pretty clear that MatPat is very passionate about what he's built here. And it's not an easy thing to step away from the role he's had for the last 13 years, but he really wants to be more active in his family's life, as well as maybe do more aside from just constantly think about work. And again, as Tom Scott said in his video, it's the dream job to be able to create content like MatPat, like Tom Scott, like Seth Everman, but at the end of the day, it is still a job, and it is something that has consumed their life, their time, and they want to get that time back so they can start doing other things and put their focus on other projects and other places. And to reuse Tom Scott's words here, he can do less and be happier, and that's the choice that he's making. He also does say that he wanted to do this while still at the top of his game. He didn't want his channel to kind of like dwindle and peter out like a sad little wet fart into the wind or anything. And the Theorist brand is on fire right now. So he wanted to go out with a really positive legacy while still at the very peak and take a more passive role. Now, he's not completely disappearing and vanishing from the internet or content in general, but he's not going to be the host or anything like that. He's going to be working more behind the scenes as well as making IP. So it's not like it's the last you're ever going to see of him. MatPat will return, just not in the same capacity that you're used to seeing him, which is not an easy thing to do. Again, it's a very tough thing to step away from. Now, why do I think so many YouTubers are all experiencing the same thing and making the same decision to just slow down or step away? Well, I don't think it's anything nefarious. I don't believe the Illuminati puppet strings are at play here. I think the reason is because YouTube has entered this stage of its life cycle where it's actually been around for so long that some people like MatPat, like Tom Scott, have been on here and dedicated a sizable chunk of their life to this career that they've made on it. Again, it is a job, and much like any other job, there reaches a point where they're just ready to do something else and retire from it. They're just lucky enough that they can retire in a shorter time frame than most people get to. Like everyone mentioned, it is a dream job, but after spending 10 years plus grinding, being exhausted, or maybe even burnt out, they decide that it's just not what they want to do anymore, and they do have the luxury of being able to step away from it without needing to worry about like providing for their family or their family's livelihood going forward or anything like that. So they do make that decision. Now, naturally, with all of this going on, people are starting to wonder, well, who's going to be the next one to announce that they're going to stop uploading or change things around to upload less, what have you. And on stream tonight, a ton of people were asking if I was next, like some kind of Super Smash Bros. DLC character. Am I going to be the next one to make an announcement like Tom Scott and like MatPat? I've been on YouTube for 17 years now, and let me just tell you, I only want to go harder. I fucking love it. The main thing for me, and I've said this since the time that I was literally a kid, is that I never want YouTube to feel like a job. and it never has. And I'll never let it feel like a job. It's just me having fun. It's me sitting here shooting the shit most of the time or exploring really goofy creative projects like God Slap. Wow, I got really disoriented with the camera. Our comic series, and then Plague Seeker, and then music. Man, it's like, what am I doing with my hands? It's like playing fucking Surgeon Simulator. Point is, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the most fun I have in life. So, no, I don't have any plans of slowing down or anything like that. Actually have some huge plans for 2024 going even more hog wild. So, let me put that to bed right now. I don't plan on having an announcement like this anytime soon, but I do 100% understand and respect all of these YouTubers that are making this decision because it's not an easy one, especially for the amount of time they've spent building the incredible things they have built. And I wish MatPat and his whole team nothing but the absolute best going forward. But yeah, anyway, that's really about it. See ya.